In this game, winners win, and I only back winners. Trainer Kenny McPeak is a proven winner, and his horses are in my portfolio. And now they can be in yours too. McPeak's champion horses and Derby hopefuls are now featured on Morning Line. With Morning Line, I don't just watch the race. I own the moment. I invest in champions. This is my edge. Buy, sell, trade anytime. Morning Line. Own the game.
Hi, everyone. Thanks so much for joining us here on the Daily Racing Form YouTube. I'm Gino Buccola alongside Ashley Mailloux with producer Bobby helping us out as we get you ready for a big day at Santa Anita. 4 graded stakes races out on Big Cap Day. One of them is the Kilroe Mile. It is now a grade 2, but it's still a very intriguing race, Ashley, and I hope that it stays fully intact as we take a look at the field because it now has just a field of 8, but maybe 4 horses in here who kind of want to be forward and who show some speed. We know El Patente wants to be close. Cabo Spirit wants to be close. Mi Bago might be the quickest of all of them. And Final Boss wants to be forward. So if this race stays intact, as you and I are handicapping this on Wednesday, I am fascinated by what might happen with the early speed. Like they could be going very, very quick in here for this type of distance.
Yeah, and that's the key, right? Going really quick for a mile. Some of these horses have been, at one point they've tried to sprint and they've been effective, but now they've gone a little bit longer. And I think that's the key also for others that maybe have raced at a mile and an eighth or a mile and a 16th. The cutback to a mile might not seem significant, but when there's a pace perspective to kind of factor in and consider, it certainly can be.
I think the horse to beat is El Patente, whether or not the pace scenario heats up. I mean, he's obviously better when he can control things, but he's shown he can sit off the pace a little bit. And if I was going to pick any of the speed horses that I think could win this race or could still run really, really well, even after a pace battle, I think it would be El Patente.
Yeah, I would agree. I think kind of looking at him too in a race like this with that other speed that you talked about, I don't think he necessarily makes the lead, but at least we know he can be effective with a target in front of him. We saw that 4 and 5 starts back, and 4 back, probably a career best effort in a lot of ways.
Yep, especially if you can just kind of flip it off early on. Let's move to the Timeform US Pace Projector, see how they think this race sets up. Yeah, it'll just come down to what happens early on with this grouping of horses, because when you start to handicap these 4 speed horses in particular, I don't think Cabo Spirit is quite as quick as the other 3. And then you were just pointing out El Patente can sit off a little bit. I don't know if Mi Bago can. I think he just has one way to go. And I'm not sure if Final Boss, like in this race off the bench, if he really wants to be too far back. So I think at least a couple of them are going to be really keeping each other honest up front.
Absolutely. With Mi Bago, I think the big thing is he typically tries to catch a flyer early where he's 2 lengths in front and everyone else is playing, catch up in the end. You bring up Final Boss. He's a little intriguing because you look at the effort 2 back. A mile and 3/8, they tried to, send him and see if he could get the distance, but now he has no starts under his belt since September. Sometimes when this happens, as you alluded to, they can be a little fresh and want to go because they haven't raced in so long, and that could be the case here.
Let's meet the field for this one. It's the grade 2 Frank E. Kilroe Mile. It's going to go as race number 9 on Saturday at Santa Anita. We have $200,000 up for grabs, and we begin things with Mi Hermano Ramon. Ashley, this was a horse who had a wicked beat 2 starts back in the Shoemaker Mile. He ran his eyeballs out and just lost that day. And over the last, year and a half, he's been one of the more consistent horses on the West Coast and around this division. You go through his form, he doesn't have many bad races. He won the grade 2 Seabiscuit at the end of 2024. And, some of those races where he's behind Johannes, that's a really good effort. The one right behind King of Gosford, he's right there with Formidable Man, who came back and ran well in the Breeders' Cup. I think he could get a very nice trip in this race too. The way we were mapping it out, if there is an honest pace and a few of these horses go to the front, it looks like you got a couple deep closers in here with Almendaris and Gas Me Up. They want to drop way back. Then you've got the others that are more speedy. He could be right in the middle and save all the ground and then get the jump on some of the deeper closers from the inside. I think the main concern with him is the layoff, right? We have not seen him since June, and he particularly has been a horse that's needed a race or two to kind of fire his best shots off the bench. But if he's saving ground inside, he doesn't have to really run hard all the way around the track, and he can just kind of, run that last quarter mile, get the jump on the closers. I will point out he's training incredibly well in the mornings on First.TV. He's actually working with So Happy, the horse who's entered in the San Felipe. So Happy just turned 3, but Mi Hermano Ramon was like handling him pretty well. So I think he's doing very well right now. It'll all come down to price if I'm going to bet him. Like 5-1 is fair, Ashley. If he starts getting down to like 7-2-ish, then I don't know if he's going to offer us that much value off the bench.
I'm training well on the dirt for a turf horse. Just something to maybe be mindful of. I'll just be honest. I've been burned by him way too many times, Gino, to endorse him off the layoff, at least endorse him on the top spot, because I'm pretty sure the last 3 or 4 times that he's run, I have been like, oh, love him. He's going to have that day, and he hasn't. I did like his effort, though, too, back. I thought he ran really well in terms of the splits he was chasing throughout there, and they did go 45 and 3 1/2 and 109 and 2 for 6 furlongs in that mile event. But last time out, still an okay effort. He was going to Churchill, a track that he hadn't run at before. I just need to see one. That's pretty much all I can say.
The way that you described him as being burned by him a few times, it's funny. If you're a West Coast turf player, there might be 3 horses in this field that you describe that way. And one of them is Almendares, who you look at, he's been in pretty nice form as of late. He just ran 3rd in the Pegasus World Cup Turf. It was a very good 3rd place finish that day, but he's only won for his last 12. And in graded stakes races overall, he's 0 for 12. He's never won one of these big graded stakes races. His win came in the Wicker, you can see, and he has got a lot of good efforts. And another one, Ashley, where on paper, 3rd start of the form cycle, he cuts back to a mile. He could get some pace to run at. A lot of things look really good for him. But do you trust him on the win end where he just hasn't been really a win machine?
No, not at Santa Anita, at least, either. I mean, he's 0 for 6 on the grass. We talked about that in our other preview with Splendora, Del Mar versus Santa Anita. I mean, there are horses for courses. They just run better, and it can be sometimes the configuration's just slightly different, and maybe the way that the track plays itself. I will say this, Almendares, he can get a piece in here, especially if they're blistering early on and a couple of those horses that are part of the pace tire themselves out. Look at his efforts. I mean, he is right there. Thought his 3rd place finish 3 back was actually really solid when he missed a length and a quarter behind Johannes and Cabo Spirit. Since then, also his Pegasus World Cup Turf Invitational, looking at that effort. That is a huge effort. It's kind of underrated as we take a look at it when you look at the top 2. You have Test Score and you have One Stripe for Graham Motion. This is an underrated performance. I know he was 37-1, but he really ran well.
And it shows you that the West Coast form is not bad because him and Astronomer both ran really well in this race to finish 3rd and 4th. They ran the same types of races they were running out on the West Coast, just over at Gulfstream Park, and those races were good enough to be 3rd and 4th and hit the board with that group for Almendares. So yeah, I respect him. I think if you're playing any kind of like exactas try supers, he's absolutely in the mix for me underneath. But on the win end, I'm looking for maybe others who could get a different kind of trip or just who have been winning races more recently. A horse like El Patente, for example, right? I mean, he is just a really nice horse, Ashley. You go back to 2025, he's winning the Thunder Road. He's putting back-to-back victories together. And at that point, he looked like he was really going to be one of the top horses in the division, especially on the West Coast for the milers on the turf. Then, unfortunately, he was off from February to November. But since he showed back up, I think all 3 of his races make sense. He ran like he needed the race a little bit in the Seabiscuit. Then he cut back in the Hernandez. That was a strange race where they were flying early. They went really quick, and he was kind of close and moved early into that race. He got back to his mile trip last time out. He got to control things. That's the El Patente that we know. He was actually pointing to run in Dubai. And then after what's been happening over the last few days, we don't really know what the status of the Dubai World Cup is. And a lot of the connections are rerouting horses from America that we're going to maybe point to a race in Dubai. So because he's now in this race, it really makes it a lot more intriguing. He's the morning line favorite, and he's a major pace player in here, Ashley.
Yeah, it's really, really a great spot for him, I think, in terms of where he goes next. And you've had to be patient with him if you are the owner or the trainer here, but good thing that they have patience because they have been rewarded really with what he's been able to do on the racetrack. And I know you look at his purse earnings, it's not going to be as high as some others, but he shows up just about every time. I think from the speed perspective, he has speed, he has the ability to rate, he kind of has everything that you'd want, I think, with a miler. I think sometimes with milers, you have closers and they don't get it done at a mile, so you want to stretch them out a little bit, and it still doesn't happen. I think having a horse like him, he's very effective on the grass, and he absolutely loves it at Santa Anita.
We have some very good small barns having some of their big horses run this weekend at Santa Anita. You were talking about Aggie Ordonez in a previous preview. And Dan Blacker, while he has a little more numbers than that barn, he does not have a huge barn. And this can be a little frustrating sometimes when some of your stars aren't out on the track, right? You get a little anxious. You don't have horses running all the time. You want to try to push them into their spots. And he is so patient and has done such a great job with these types of horses like this. Give them all the time they need, and they come back just completely ready. And that's how El Patente has been in the last few. We move to Gas Me Up. I mean, the totally opposite end of the spectrum from a pace standpoint, right, Ashley? El Patente wants to be close up. Gas Me Up is going to drop back. He's going to make one late run. He is a deep closer, but he's been pretty consistent in his last now 6 or 7 races. I mean, last time out, he just faced El Patente in a field where El Patente had the advantage and there was no speed on paper. This race looks on paper like it could set up a lot better for him than the last one did.
It could. And I'll be honest, I think going into the February 7th race, I was starting to think, like, is he a 2-turn horse or is he truly just a closing sprinter on the grass? I know he'd been able to win the King Edward at Woodbine, but it's a little bit of a different configuration on the EP Taylor opposed to the inner. And that sort of made me wonder a little bit about him if he needs to go 1 turn. And then seeing him last time out, I know he was second best behind El Patente, but he ran very well. It was a compact field. I don't think the pace was necessarily what he wanted. I think a tad quicker. He might have made things a little bit closer in the end, but another horse that you've had to have patience with had a very long layoff from October of 22 to June of 24. And I actually think he's just getting better and better.
Yeah, he is. And sometimes horses like this, because of that long layoff, right, they still have a lot left to fire. Right. He hasn't raced a lot of races. He still has like a lot left in the tank there. Gas Me Up. We move to Cabo Spirit. He's been a very honest pace horse in Southern California in these races over the last couple of years. I will say on paper in the Pegasus World Cup turf, there was no speed. That race looked really good for him on paper. This is kind of the opposite. There look like there are 3 other horses that might be quicker than him, Ashley. He can sit off a little bit. Like you look back to the City of Hope Mile and a couple races where he can sit and then kind of move towards the front. He almost can kind of fall into a win, but I just don't think that's where he's best. Like his strongest races are when there's not a lot of other early speed in a race and he can get out front and he can dictate things. I just don't know if this race sets up all that well for him.
Yeah, I don't think it does, especially with speed drawn to his outside. That being Mibago, being the main speed, I think, on paper. I think that kind of hurts him. I think, too, with a horse like this that wants to be forward, when you have a quick rival to your outside, I think you almost feel the pressure to go. And I think going through some of his races, that has gotten the best of him from time to time.
Yeah, respect that multiple graded stakes winner, but you're right. Mibago and Final Boss. He's got 2 really quick horses right to his outside. Mibago, as you pointed out, I mean, he can flat fly. Generally, a race starts and he's like 2 lengths clear of the rest of the field, and you're looking around like, how did he get so clear so quickly? That was the case when he made his first start as a 4-year-old. Feels like he's been around for longer, but he's just a 4-year-old making only his second start, and he is a multiple stakes winner. So I think if there's anyone in this field that does get out front and can go, gate to wire and steal this race, I think it's him.
Certainly could be. He was really hyped as a 3-year-old. I'm pretty sure he was nominated by Mark Cassidy to the 2000 Guineas, and we can see he never ended up going, but kind of look at his form later in the season, I do think he tailed off. I think when you're a horse like him and you're going that quick in some of your races and he put together a really impressive streak, maybe he just got a little bit tired, and that's why they regrouped after Kentucky Downs, brought him back after about 4 months of rest, and he was ready to rock once again. He did get a little bit tired, it felt like, at the end of that race, but I think that's fine given the layoff and the campaign that he had. I think he can build off of it. I wonder here, going out to Santa Anita, how's this going to work for him? Second race off the layoff, you would think there's going to be room for improvement. If he's 10-1, I think he's intriguing, but he's got some other pace pressure in here.
Yeah, you were kind of hitting on it too. Like he was a little disappointing last year, right? He was this pretty kind of precocious, fast horse, but then as the distances got a little longer and as the competition got a little tougher, he didn't really fire as many big efforts. But that was his career best, so maybe he just needed to grow up a little bit, especially with his running style. He seems like a horse that was kind of hard to rate, hard to ride, maybe hard to train. Like he just wanted to go and couldn't relax. Sometimes we see these horses grow up, they get a little more mature, they can relax and ration their speed a little bit better. I do think Jaramillo could be a great fit for him. The way that he's been riding out at Santa Anita has been fantastic as well. We go to Final Boss. He's quick. He's a stakes winner, but he has not raced now in 5+ months. He is capable of big races, Ashley. I mean, you see he beats Gold Phoenix. That's a grade 1 winner, multiple graded stakes winner. So with the right type of circumstance, he can beat really nice horses. I just don't know if this is the right type of circumstance. As we've been pointing out, it looks like in a small field, maybe half of these horses want to be pretty close and forwardly placed.
Yeah, and I know he's got to win at a mile. I don't know if he's a miler. Obviously, I'm not a trainer, Gino, and I can't make the decision of, when horses get later in life, maybe they want to do different things. We have seen that with top-notch racehorses, but with the fact that I haven't seen him since September, I'm not sure what he wants to do. I would demand value on him, though, if I were going to play him. And we'll see what sort of price he is and how he runs, but I'll take a wait-and-see approach.
It almost just feels like it's a starting point off the bench, right? You start at the mile, and then you can go from there. Do they want to cut back? Do they want to go a little bit longer? I think type of horse that his speed going longer could be really dangerous if, at the longer distances when he's able to get out front. And we round things out, Ashley, with Astronomer. For the last 17. His last win was August of 2023, but he was a good fourth at 40-1 last time out in the Pegasus World Cup turf. In that stretch, he has 7 top 3 finishes in really similar buyer speed figures. I mean, he's a model of consistency. If you're just looking at speed figures and not the results of the races, he's one of the horses that you could probably count on the most to show up and give a pretty good account of himself, but it's just rarely good enough to win races anymore.
It rarely is, and I think the fact when you go through his past performances, Almendarez and Mi Hermana Ramon, I mean, they're typically getting the best of him, and unfortunately, he has to face them again. He has been in tough spots, and I think when you look at the Pegasus World Cup Turf Invitational, very, a big performance, finishing 4th. They're only beaten by a length and a quarter at 40-1, but another one, now he's got to go a mile. I know he has wins at the mile. You can see one of those at Del Mar, and you alluded to that being his last win. I don't know. I don't know enough here to say what's going to make the difference, right? I don't see how he's going to get from sort of his ceiling right now, which is a big effort, just not good enough to beat the top horses or the winners of those races. I don't see what makes the difference.
Before we move to selections, let's find out a little bit more about our friends at morningline.io. This video is sponsored by morningline.io. Old school ownership locks you in with fees, markups, and no exit. Morningline offers a modern alternative, licensed access to elite racehorses with flexibility to buy, sell, or trade anytime. No ongoing costs. Only on morningline.io. Back to the preview. Ashley, selections time. How do you want to stack them up here for the Kilroe Mile?
Yeah, I think there's 2 main horses, at least in my opinion, that the betting public are probably going to land on, that being the 3 El Patente and the 4 Gas Me Up. I just think, kind of talking about El Patente, off his most recent effort in the Thunder Road, I thought he looked really good. He got that 97 buyer speed figure, and let's be honest, he loves the Thunder Road. He was able to win it the prior year, but I actually think if he doesn't make the lead in here, he's not in jeopardy. He can sit with a target in front of him, such as Mibago or maybe even Final Boss, and be able to run them down late, and the fact that he loves Santa Anita. So not creative, Gino. He's 5-2 on the morning line.
The way that you mapped it out, I agree. I think money's going to come in for El Patente and for Gas Me Up. And I am curious if Mi Hermana Ramon can be that horse within like 5 to 6-1 that offers us nice value, that saves ground, that maybe gets the right type of trip. Can he sit 4th, 5th, get the jump on 2 of the deeper closers who don't love to win races a whole lot, like Almendarez, right? And then Gas Me Up maybe coming from way, way out of it. So let's see if Mi Hermana Ramon can get the trip. For me, it'll be 1-4-3-2. For Ashley, 3-4-2-1. Same 4, just in a slightly different order. However you play them, we wish you the best of luck.